Week one of the election campaign is done and there are 34 days to go until polling day. But what does this election mean for Australian businesses, especially those that have had a really tough 2 years of COVID restrictions? Well, joining us live is CEO of ExoWorks, Emilie Sydney-Smith. Emilie, thanks for joining us. What do you make of what has played out so far on the campaign trail, especially from a business perspective?
Well, businesses, more than any time in probably living memory, they really want a safe pair of hands, especially in this really unsafe world. And so I can't imagine how Albanese is really looking like he can pull that off. You can't have a do-over with Putin or Xi. You really need to be having that kind of safety that I think the Liberal Party is showing at the moment. The Liberal Party actually went into COVID with some of the attributes that the fastest growing companies in the world share. It was almost like they'd actually seen the same playbook and they did a brilliant job. I don't know why businesses and people aren't just celebrating the incredible things that were achieved by this government compared to almost any other government around the world during the COVID impacts.
Okay, so looking ahead, what will this election mean for businesses and business confidence?
Well, business confidence could be much higher if the government was actually saying, let's take those lessons that we had during COVID and actually roll them out to business. We should be actually creating billions and trillions of dollars worth of new industries. And I think that both parties have really been focused on the same old existing, often obsolete kind of industries, rather than saying, well, we should be doing something new. Now we've been embracing, even today, it's amazing to see some high-tech healthcare being funded, but it's funding the actual outcome of it. Not saying Australia should be leading this. We could be leading in so many ways with these amazing medical discoveries. There's so much talent here, but then it goes offshore to actually be commercialised. And if they could actually have policies that said, we need to future-proof Australia, but not just future-proof, but actually create a huge amount more GDP growth through creating new industries. That would be a real game changer for businesses.
The coalition is promising to create 1.3 million jobs in the next 5 years. Is this achievable?
Well, it's achievable, absolutely, if they actually do start to embrace some of these new industries. But if they stick to their guns of just trying to attract the same old industries back to Australia, take more of the share of the market for those tired old industries, it's going to be really hard. Everyone is trying to grab those industries. Instead, we could actually be going and saying, well, let's create amazing vertical farming and 3D printing and biotechnology. All of it's right here. We should be creating the Silicon Valleys of these various different areas. We have such a great basis of the workers here, but we should also be training them into the jobs of the future. Essentially, we're training people for the second industrial revolution, and we're already onto the fourth industrial revolution, where you have that digital world, you have the physical and the digital come together. I saw the wonderful piece that you did focusing on smart cities and that digital physical combination. That's what we should be doing if we're actually going to create those jobs.
Is this a missed opportunity here? What could both parties be doing right now to create an environment that will support businesses that exist, but also looking ahead and making sure that we are leading the way, I suppose, when it comes to tech and the digital world?
Well, at ExoWorks, we actually looked at the fastest growing companies in the world and said, well, why don't we just follow those? Because it's a pretty amazing model. And in fact, there are 11 attributes that are shared between those companies. And so if we actually said, well, let's really focus on those. Let's really try and get the community and crowd involved in our companies. Let's use idle assets that are out there, really embrace algorithms and not just make them sort of creating a spaghetti ball of data that doesn't work inside companies, but actually having proper data flows with insights that are actionable. All of those things could actually be supported by the government. The government should be saying, let's stop just doing the same old. Let's really support different practices that mean that we're actually not only teaching people who are coming through schools these new kinds of ideas, but let's actually be saying to business, let's be audacious. There are these other groups out there in the world who are being audacious. They're only doing things that are tenfold better than the status quo, not just a couple of percentage every year. And we should actually use those tools that are out there to really grow business.
Emilie Sydney Smith, we have to leave it there. Thanks so much for your time this afternoon. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.